Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that generally a person is born as an ordinary being, and the purpose of Varna and Ashrama is to elevate his consciousness so that he, at the end of his life or at some stage, he becomes a Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada says that if there are some material desires within the heart, then a person can purify those desires through the path of regulation. If someone has some desires, so there are two choices. One can deny those desires. So there is a path of denial. But the path of denial ultimately leads to frustration, because by nature we are the living entities who are always seeking for pleasure. So the desires will always be there. But if we start to deny them, then we can deny them for some time. Prabhupada always talks about bhoga and tyaga. Bhoga means indulgence, eating too much sweet. That is also wrong. And tyaga means complete denial. But Krishna consciousness, the path that is given to us by Srila Prabhupada, is neither denial and nor indulgence. It is of regulation. The path of regulation that can purify our hearts without denying our desires. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, Yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. So everything has to be regulated. So that is the right path by which one person can purify his heart. So even Grahastha life is regulated. It should be regulated. There is a story of Kardam Muni in Bhagavatam. Kardam Muni went through a lot of austerities as a brahmachari. He was son of Lord Brahma, and he went through so much of austerities. His father wanted him to get married and produce children and help Lord Brahma for the creation. That was the beginning of creation. So Lord Brahma, the father, wanted the son Kardam Muni to act as Prajapati and beget children. So when in Brahmacharya Ashram Kardam Muni performed great severe austerities, Lord Vishnu became pleased. And Lord Vishnu was so much pleased by the austerities that he cried tears of love, thinking that my devotee is so great. And Kardam Muni told Lord Vishnu that my father wants me to get married, and I want to respect my father. At the same time, I want to continue this path of devotional service. I don't want to stop this devotional service. Neither I want to get affected by me being married. Should not be a hindrance to my devotional service. So Lord Vishnu was so happy with Kardam Muni. It is described that Lord Vishnu, he arranged for the marriage. He said that 3 days from now, the king of the world will come to you with his daughter. So Narada Muni became the mediator, and he arranged for the marriage. And Devahuti was married to Kardam Muni. So the time of marriage, Kardam Muni had a condition. He said that I will get married because my father wants me to, but once I have a son, once we beget son, then I will leave. Then I will enter renounced order of life. So there we see that even sense gratification with the desire to be renounced through the path of regulation is very much appreciated. So one is allowed for having some desire, but if the ultimate goal is to purify our desires, neither denial and nor indulgence, but we want to purify those desires, the desires that we have right now, the same desires can be completely purified and converted into Krishna conscious desires. Because if we see the lives of great devotees, we see they also are acting the same way, and if someone is not studying the Vedas or studying these scriptures under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, that person won't understand the difference between the activities of a common person and the activities of a great Vaishnava. Because the activities appear to be similar. Because if you see the lives of great devotees like Ambarish Maharaj, he is also king, and he is also having many wives. He is also performing his duties. And it appears that how he is different than a just mundane king. But because of his devotional service, everything changes. Prabhupada is mentioning that there is a purificatory process that is needed for every person in order to start studying the Vedas. And the person should approach a spiritual master. And once the spiritual master accepts the disciple, then he will also give the sacred thread. And then the brahmacharya ashram begins. So I remember when I was given the sacred thread, I was very small. I was 8 years old. So I did not understand much. But my mother was crying. And I did not understand what is there to cry. I was thinking like she's too sentimental. But the reason was, I found out later when actually the ceremony began, and the person who was conducting that ceremony, he said that from today, you should not eat too much sweet. You should not sleep in the daytime. You should not sleep with your mother. So you cannot, you should not touch a woman. You should stay, you have to regulate your life. And you have to study Vedas. You have to do Gayatri. You have to chant Gayatri 3 times a day. So these type of injunctions turn a boy, like, a small, maybe 5-6 years old boy. I was 8 years that time. So that's why the parents usually think that, oh, now my small, boy has turned into a man. So that's the actual beginning of brahmacharya ashram. So that's why brahmacharya ashram means one should be very strict, and one should, without any diligence, one should be completely, adhering to the instructions of the spiritual master and study the Vedas and study the Shastras. And then in the beginning, that is the base of life. If the base is strong, then the building of life will be very strong. That's why one is advised to be very strict in brahmacharya ashram. And then, as we said, that in the grahastha ashram, there is different types of injunctions that must be followed. And we can see the life of Srila Prabhupada, who acted as a perfect grahastha. So when he was householder, he acted as the best interface between the sannyasis, of Gaudiya Math and the people in general. So that's the job of grihasthas. Like, they are supposed to connect the renounced order of life devotees to the devotees in general. So we see a grihastha is supposed to take charge and always protect his family, his wife and his children. So we see in the life of Prabhupada, when there were bombs being thrown in Kolkata, and Prabhupada was living in Kolkata with his wife and children. So everyone was moving out of Kolkata that time, because nobody knows, at any time there can be a bomb, thrown on your house, and you will be burnt to ashes. So that time Prabhupada sent his children to Mayapur. But his wife was adamant. She said, no, I will not leave the house. Whatever happens, I will stay here. If I have to die, I will stay here and I will die in my house. Prabhupada tried to convince, but she did not agree. But then Prabhupada thought that if I leave my wife and I go myself alone to Mayapur, then everyone will say that, what kind of husband you are. You just left your wife to die there. And Prabhupada was such perfect grihastha that he said that he also stayed with his wife. And he was happily making kachoris in the kitchen while the bombs were being thrown in Kolkata. And there was, sounds of bomb blasts. And Prabhupada was singing Hare Krishna and frying kachoris. And then later on Prabhupada told the disciples that I was thinking that if the bomb is dropped on my head, I am chanting Hare Krishna, so we will go to Krishna. And if the bomb is not dropped, then anyways we are frying the kachoris, so we will offer the kachori and eat. That is also good. So life of devotee is always happy, this way or that way. So after Grihastha ashram, one is supposed to renounce and detach oneself and enter Vanaprastha ashram. Vanaprastha ashram is preparation for sannyas. So Vanaprastha ashram, like it is said in the Shastras, Panchasha urdhvam vanam vrajet. That after you are 50 years or older, then you should start preparing your life for sannyas ashram. So, after 50 years, one should travel to holy places, and one should not indulge in any sense gratification, and one should develop detachment. So we see in the life of Prabhupada also, he took Vanaprastha and soon he took sannyas.